Hey guys, HuzzyGames bringing you another video, and welcome back to a patch note breakdown. So again, been doing these more often, every 2 weeks we're pretty much a patches now in League. We've been covering them because, one, it helps me keep completely up to date with the game, and also you guys, because I think it's very easy not to read patch notes, where making a video helps me digest it, helps you guys digest it, so it's kind of a win-win. So this is patch 10.14. Obviously, we are now technically over halfway of season 10, as weird as that sounds. It's gone quite quick, to be honest. So I'm not really expecting massive changes. Generally, the next big changes we'll see of like big gameplay updates will be worlds this year, if that is happening, which I've got no idea if it is happening or not. But that's when I'd expect the next big changes. So that would be what, in 2 months' time, roughly ish. But anyway, let's get into it. So I guess we can play the little mini game. Are any of the problematic picks that are in my head at least getting nerfed? Again, by the sounds of like the articles Riot has been making recently, and like how they're balancing things is more of numeric values, and if a champion doesn't hit a numeric value, therefore it's not going to get nerfed. So Echo, Kassadin, etc. I'd probably say they're not. Here we go. This has changed. No. So they're not being nerfed. So this has also been changed a little bit. So we did actually say in the video that we made a few days ago by now, of that video, like how are Riot balancing champions, they said they were going to update this. So you can see over here, there's now a key that is what rating of the game is actually making this nerf happen. Now, the unfortunate thing for me is I'm colorblind, so I might get this wrong, but the colors are fairly different. So this one's skilled. Pike is getting a nerf because of the skilled player bracket, which is Platinum to Diamond 3. And then the rest of them, by my eyes, they're all pro play nerfs, apart from Volibear, which looks to be an average player nerf. Again, so Ezreal's getting a pro nerf, Trundle's getting a pro nerf, and Varus is getting a pro nerf. So there's that. And I will say the Varus one shouldn't be too surprising. A statistic was on Riot, the LoL Reddit the last couple of days, and it was in the 150 games or something of pro play in Korea, Varus had not been picked or banned in just one of those games. So that kind of says everything about Varus in pro play. But there's that. There's also a bunch of new skins coming this patch. So obviously of me uploading this video, the patch I believe will be live right now. So you've got Conqueror Nautilus, which is by history a skin, I think is the Conqueror line. Or maybe I'm wrong. I thought Conqueror, oh no, it might be Challenger that I'm thinking of or something. Like, I thought the Conqueror line might have been for mid-season Invitational, but obviously that's not happening. But maybe I'm thinking of a different skin line. But you've got Arcanist Zoe, Prestige Zoe as well with Arcanist, Arcanist Kog'Maw, and then you also have Arcanist Shaco, and then you also have 3 new Infernals, Infernal Karthus, Infernal Vel'Koz, Infernal Kennen. The Vel'Koz one I think looks really cool, by the way. There are also some system changes to Ghost and to Predator, and there's buffs for these champions too. But again, don't go over those because we want to see what they are individually. First up, champion is Alistar, a champion that I really like. If you've been around for the channel for a long time, you guys might remember Huzzy's Alistar ain't bad. He is actually one of my better supports that I play when I'm in the mood to play support. Just recently, it hasn't really felt it's worth to play Alistar, if I'm honest. He's pretty good into certain metas, and I don't think the current meta is that good for him. But anyway, they are helping him out by reducing his Q cooldown. So it used to be a 17-second cooldown at rank 1 down to a 13-second, and they are giving it a 2-second buff. So it is a 2-second less cooldown every rank. That's quite good. So, yeah, that's not bad. With cooldown reduction, like supports generally get 40% cooldown reduction, you're talking that Alistar will have a 7-ish second pulverize at rank 5. That's not bad in late game. That's not bad at all. Don't know if it's going to make him meta, though, if I'm honest. Ezreal. So, yeah, Ezreal is seeming to be a bit of a problematic champion recently for a couple reasons. One, worth knowing, I'm a fan of Ezreal, so don't think I'm anti-Ezreal. I do like him. He used to be my main AD carry. I actually miss his Kleptomancy playstyle, if I'm honest. But he's, and you can say here, Ezreal is a bit too safe in lane. And into mid-late game skirmishes, the amount of damage he puts out is a lot. So yeah, like, he's incredibly safe. You can blind pick Ezreal and be fine in every single matchup. Especially now that, obviously, with the Death Stance item, him buying it generally third item. He's a very good pick right now. So what they're doing is they're giving him a little bit less safety with his Arcane Shift. So his Arcane Shift was a 25-second cooldown at rank 1. It's now a 3-second nerf. And that 3-second nerf is staying in every single rank. So it's just to give him a little bit less utility. He can't Arcane Shift as much, which again, I don't think that's necessarily his problem. I think, you know, yeah, his safety, Arcane Shift is a good tool. But a 3-second nerf for Arcane Shift, I don't think is going to fix making him as safe as he is with his good damage output from a safe range, with then also being able to buy Death Stance and being very tanky with doing decent damage, with then also building a Muramana build that obviously is quite popular for scaling into mid to late game. I don't think just giving 3 seconds more on Arcane Shift is going to fix that, so I think Ezreal will still be one of the top tier AD carry picks in pretty much every single rating bracket. Next up, Karthus. So this is actually the first, what I'd say, considerable change of this patch. So for the last couple years, Karthus has been a jungler. Historically, and, you know, by history, but those are the same things. Karthus is supposed to be a mid laner. He's a mid lane mage. So why did he go to the jungle? Couple reasons, really. He can't or couldn't really compete in mid lane. So when it was an assassin meta, well, Karthus gets wrecked by assassins. And even a lot of mages beat Karthus in pure 1v1s. But obviously Karthus as a champion, hyper scaling late game carry, wants to get to mid to late game with his 5-man ulti that affects everybody, crazy good damage. He just wants to get to late game. Well, people found I can play him in the jungle, and I can take Dark Harvest, I can power farm, and every now and then I can throw my ultimate from safety in the jungle and help my team. And obviously, yeah, you can still gank and stuff, but it looks like what they're doing is they might be trying to return him to the mid lane, which we'll see how it goes. So, what they're doing, we will read this because it gives context potentially to why they're doing this. Slinging more death over to the Death Slinger by targeting his 2 main roles. With Jungle Karthus, we're shifting some of his power against monsters to enemy champions, so he feels less farming focused, because that's practically all Karthus jungles did and do. This also means the power we're bringing to Karthus will bring some spirit back to mid lane Karthus by increasing early survivability and increasing his DPS across the board, so that he feels better equipped to lane against his peers. And to the cherry on top, we're cleaning up his E to feel more responsive and intuitive. Aha! If you watched the last patch note video, aha! I got it. Anyway, what they're doing, they're giving him a bit more health. So in essence, what, 22 more health. Movement speed, they're giving him, oh, that's good. They're giving him 10 movement speed. So his movement speed used to be one of the slowest in the game, and they're now making it a little bit faster. That's good for mid lane, because you've got to dodge enemy mages' abilities. I think you're against an Ahri. To dodge her charm, you're not going to flash every time. You want to move out the way. And if you're slow, it's harder to move out the way, so that's good. And then here's what they're doing. So Lay Waste, his obviously spammable skill that he obviously spams a lot. The damage of it by base used to be 45 damage at rank 1 up to 125 with a 0.3 ability power scaling. But reminding people, you legit, there's no cooldown practical in it. You just spam it. It's very fast. It's basically got a global cooldown is what we call it. So the moment that you press Q, that little like timer of when your ability kind of refreshes, you can press it straight away again. It technically doesn't have a cooldown. It's just a global cooldown. They are making the damage base go by 5, just a little bit of a buff there. And they're giving it a bit more scaling. So not bad, little bit of damage. And the cool thing with this, I would say, how many of us have played Karthus lane and you accidentally miss a minion by 2 health and it dies to another minion. Well, now you will kill the minions a lot easier in mid lane. So I'd say that is a considerable buff, weirdly, to farming in lane as Karthus, not just enemy champions. And also what they're doing here, damage reduction to enemy monsters. It used to have no damage reduction to monsters. It is now going to be dealing 15% less damage to monsters. That is a nerf, clear nerf to jungle Karthus. Your Q, your main farming ability, is doing less damage to monsters. So there's that. Defile, so mana restore, only when toggled off. So a lot of people may not realize when Karthus used to last hit minions, his passive with his E used to give you mana back when you last hit minions. They are now changing that to be more modern, because obviously more modern is just making everything really strong, apparently. Instead of it, and that only used to work, the mana restore only used to work when you had your E off. So like when you didn't have the big AoE circle is only when it would give you mana back. It is now always going to do it. Like you could be standing in the middle of a wave, and if your Defile, your E, kills all 6 of the minions at the same time, you still get all the mana back. That's nice. And then the AoE damage tick rate, it used to do deals damage 1 time per second. So it, quite slow. 1 time per second is when it's going to deal damage. It's now deals 4 times per second damage. Damage and cost per second are unchanged. Deacting Defile deals 1 tick down. Oh, hello. That's really good. Okay, so just to explain, and this is why I like doing these patch note videos, because to a new player, this may be hard to understand. Karthus E used to do 1 damage tick per second. So let's say your damage per second on Karthus's E, if you stood at it, was 200 damage, right? You would take 200 damage if you stayed in it for the tick of damage. Now the way it's going to work is instead of a target having to stay in for a second to deal any damage, if an enemy is in your Defile for 1.5 seconds, before they would most likely only have taken 1 tick of damage, even though they were in it for 1.5 seconds. The way it's going to work now is you deal, your tick damage is every 0.25. So that same 200 damage, and again, we're just kind of using made up numbers, instead of it doing 200 damage per 1 second, it's now going to be dealing 50 damage per quarter of a second. So if an enemy is only in your E for half a second, they'll take 100 damage. Before, they may have taken none because they weren't in it for a second, or they didn't hit the tick. So now if an enemy is in your E for 1.5 seconds, well, now they'll take, 300 damage, where before they would have only taken the 200. So this is modernizing Karthus's E, allowing him in general to do more damage. And also, when you deactivate your E as Karthus, it's going to instantly trigger a tick of damage. The same as Anivia's ultimate. So when you actually cancel Anivia's ultimate, no matter when you've done damage with it, when you cancel it, it deals damage as it's cancelling. This is now going to be the same as Karthus's E. What that means is, if the enemy is legitimately about to run away from your range of your E, and you know they're going to be out of your E range, but they're still in it right now, deactivate the E, and it will deal an extra tick of damage just before they escape. And that might be enough to kill them, right? So that's interesting. That modernizes Karthus quite a lot. So as someone that, Karthus weirdly is in, I'd say, he's in my top 10 of Mastery champions. And I know Mastery means nothing, but all Mastery shows is, have you played that champion a fair bit? He's in my top 10. I like Karthus a lot. I'm definitely going to give Karthus a go in mid lane again, whether it be on the main account or the Iron to Master account or whatever. We will give him a go in mid lane and see what he feels like. And I will say right here, all about like mid and jungle, don't underestimate Karthus top. I'm going to say that right now. In some matchups, Karthus can do very well in top lane if it's a matchup that cannot punish him. He's hyperscales. And if you've got like a Z mid and your team needs a bit of AP damage, a lot of people are like, yo, Vladimir's fine in top lane, Ryze is okay. Karthus isn't too bad either, as long as unless you don't get punished for it, yeah, it's not bad. So, worth knowing. Kha'Zix, isolated target bonus damage increased. Ooh, a buff for the old bug. So when a target is isolated, Kha'Zix used to deal 100% bonus damage to the isolated target, he is now dealing 120%. That's a lot of damage if someone is completely alone. That's good. Pike. So, Pike, magic resist, growth, and armor has been decreased. Q cost decreased and now scales. Cooldown decreased early. Base damage increased. W bonus movement speed now at constant at all ranks. And E base damage increased. So, they are nerfing his magic resist growth. I think this is more nerfs from mid lane, maybe? We'll see. Nerfing magic resist. Nerfing armor. So, he's more prone to taking damage, obviously. Q, it used to be 70 mana completely, no matter what rank. It's now cheaper, so it's 50 mana at rank 1. It's 70 mana at max. Cooldown has been buffed in terms of 2 seconds at rank 1, and it's the same at rank 5, so just an early game buff there. Base damage has also been buffed slightly by 10 across all ranks. W, bonus movement speed, used to be 40 up to 60%. It's now 40, so that's technically a nerf past rank 1. And the E used to do base damage 95. It now does 105, and it is again a 10 damage buff overall. So there's some nerfs, there's some buffs. He's got less survivability, he's got less movement speed later in the game, but he is doing a little bit more damage here or there. So it's just kind of, I don't know, tinkering with it, I guess. It's probably going to make him less safe in mid lane, being a little bit squishier. Maybe this is to give him, you know, more strength in bot lane, where Riot, I guess, kind of want him to be. But there's that. All right, cool. Riven, that's a champion you don't see in patch notes often. Passive bonus damage increased. Passive Runic Blade. The bonus damage of it used to be 25 to 50% of total attack damage. It's now 30 to 60%. Not bad. Again, Riven's one of those weird champs. We've spoken about it before. The game of League of Legends is such a weird game because the game changes depending what server you play on. Not just because of skill levels, the actual meta is different. And champion of how the community feels about champions is also different. If you go in North America, and you're watching this from North America, a lot of people might be looking at that and going, what are Riot doing? I'm going to be honest, North America heavily value Riven, in solo queue especially. In EU, we don't. I'm not scared of Riven, pretty much at all. It's just the way of things. It's just how the communities are different. And that sometimes is, I know in America, there are a few content creators that are known for their Riven, and obviously that might inspire people of that region to pick that champion up. There's definitely, that could be an argument, but yeah, it's just the way of things. You know, we made that Lee Sin commentary a few days ago, and there are 2 regions that still heavily prioritize Lee Sin: Korea and, weirdly, Turkey. But Lee Sin's popularity has gone down on EU West and North America over the last couple of years, but in those 2 regions, he is still valued insanely high. There are differences per region, and it's cool. I like it. But there's that. So, Riven buff. Don't really see an issue myself. Sejuani, E base damage increased, frost cooldown on stunned enemy champions decreased, and constant at all ranks. The base damage has gone up by 15 across the board, every rank, and the frost cooldown, stunned enemy champions cannot gain frost for this amount of time, but now it is a buff. So you couldn't re-stun a frosted champion on Sejuani, depending what rank you were. They have now made it 8 seconds across the board. It used to be 10 seconds, down to 8 seconds, depending rank, I guess. When it scaled of level 1, 7, and 14. It's now scaling completely across level 1 to 18. So that'll probably equalize, maybe about the same area, level 14, maybe a bit less. So it's probably overall a buff for Sejuani. Trundle. Again, another strong champion. This is, I think it was a pro play nerf, potentially. W bonus attack damage decreased early, so his, clear time and everything was pretty damn good. But the treacherous troll has been on a particular savage streak as he continues to tear through professional play. We're reverting the patch 9.6 buff in the hopes that this will ice down his early game clear time. So his bonus attack speed used to be 30% at rank 1 up to 100% at rank 5. It's now 20% at rank 1, still 100% at rank 5. So yeah, early game, they just want to tone him down, make him less fast in his jungle clearing. And also, if my screen has gone slightly orange, I'll fix that because it's just turned 8:30 at night, and that's when my night light on my monitors turn on. Varus. So we did speak about this earlier. Varus has had a near 100% play to ban rate in certain professional regions. Another professional ban coming out here, or another professional focused nerf. And for those that are like, why do, Varus is okay in solo queue, why are they nerfing it because of pro play? We've said it many times. League of Legends is a top-down video game. You balance it from the top players to the bottom. It's a trickle-down effect. It's a competitive game. And obviously, the pinnacle of top is pro play. So that's what they balance the game mainly to. Q, maximum bonus damage ratio now scales, and E, base damage decreased early. So the maximum bonus the arrow can now deal used to be 150%, total attack damage. That's what it dealt. It's now 125% start and 145 at max rank. So it's a 5% nerf even at rank 5, but it's a early game, quite a big nerf there. So that's going to really hurt his lane pressure of the lethality poke build for Varus. And also the E has been nerfed as well, at least in the early game, by 20 damage. It goes 20 damage, then 15, then 10, then 5, and then equalizes at rank 5. So very big early game nerfs for poke-orientated Varus. But he might still see play, we'll see. Volibear, so a champion that they very much overbuffed, that, he got released, he was very weak. Even on stream today, I think you'll see this video before some of my main account videos I played today. I spoke about Volibear, and someone's like, Huz, didn't you say he was really weak? I was like, well, buffs and nerfs do happen, and on release of his rework, Volibear was ridiculously weak. To make it clear, in base stats, in terms of health, armor, magic resist, tank stats, he had less tanky stats than some AD carries at level 18. As like flat base stats, he had less tank stats than AD carries. That's how weak he was. Like, I don't know how that happened, but it did. And then Riot went a little bit too crazy with the buffs. And the Volibear is crazy. And yeah, full disclosure, there is a video coming today on stream. I did play on the main account. And there's a game that we have a Volibear jungle on our team. And he goes nuts. And it's just crazy what that champion can do. So their nerfs to answer how strong this champion is attack speed has gone down by 0.04. Okay. And then the W, wounded enemy heal, it used to do reduced by 50% on minions. It's now reduced by 50% on minions and monsters. So his heal, that when Volibear presses W on something, his second W will heal him a little bit. That's just been nerfed in the jungle to make him less healthy by sustain in the jungle. Those two things don't really answer the insane burst that this champion has. Like, legitimately, I've even played Volibear on video, and if you Q to somebody and E at the same time, so you stun them in your E with then a W, you are half healthing most things in the game by that simple combo. It's nuts. So yeah, that probably isn't enough, by the way. Wukong, probably a couple more to go. Because alphabetically, we're nearly at the end of the alphabet, everybody. That's good. Wukong, our knock-up duration decreased. That's good. So, obviously, they changed Wukong. They got him like a mini rework. He now can do 2 of his ultimate. And, combining, if you got knocked up in both phases, you'd be knocked up for 1.5 seconds. You're now only going to be knocked up by 1.2. But yeah, each of them is lasting 0.6 seconds instead of 0.75. It's a small nerf. It's still not going to affect Wukong's, his damage numbers. But that's I'd say a fair nerf. I think that's completely fine. Z. W, missile speed increased, cooldown decreased earlier. Z buff. Whoa, nice. The missile speed of ZW is now being increased to 2500. It used to be 1750. And for those like, what the hell is missile speed with his W? The speed that the actual shadow travels to land. So, you know, when Z presses W, you can see the shadow leaving his body to where it's going to land, wherever he's cast it. That's quicker. It's now appearing there quicker. That's a buff. That's enabling an assassin to be faster. So, yeah. And the cooldown of it has also been buffed. 2 seconds in the early game. And that, yeah, pretty much an early game buff. This is really good for Zed. It's not affecting his technical damage numbers, but it's allowing him to be more reactive and instant with his damage, especially in lane phase. So I think that's really good. So those are the champions. Again, nothing that I inherently disagree with. Maybe the Volibear nerfs aren't enough. Obviously, there are some champions that I still believe are missing, but obviously just because they don't hit the certain numeric numbers that Riot now balances the game off. But yeah, Predator. So Predator is still weaker than expected, so they're just going to buff it even more. So the damage has gone up by a little bit and the cooldown's been reduced, so you can use it more often and it does more damage. That's an overall buff. And Ghost. A bonus movement speed. Oh, snap, really? So Ghost they gave a buff to, that it's instantaneous speed. They're keeping that, but they're now giving it even more movement speed. That's good. Why would they do that, by the way? I think Riot want more people to take Ghost, but their Ghost buff made no other champions really take it. It was still the champions that took Ghost that took Ghost. It was still Hecarim and Darius and occasionally Victor, and that's about it. There's probably a couple others. But maybe they're trying to open it up to more, even more champions. And it's the only way of doing that is you buff it to make it that other champions want to take Ghost. So that's good. But again, for the champions that like the change, the Darius, the Hecarim and all that, this is just another buff to them. So yeah. There's a new clash mode coming. There's bug fixes, which are, wow, a lot of bug fixes, which we do not go through. Make sure if you see a champion that you play, by the way, that like, oh, you're a Diana player, make sure you read what the bug fix is. I just don't read them, if I'm honest. And then we got upcoming skins again. Conqueror Nautilus, Arcanist, Shaco, Kog'Maw, and Zoe, with the Prestige being Zoe. Then we have Infernal, Vel'Koz, Karthus, and Kennen. We got Chromas as well. Not entirely sure what the League partner code may be. Whatever the lime green. Again, that might look like it with my eyes, so it might be Kog'Maw. But there we go. That is the patch, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Seems to be an okay patch. There's going to be some things that I'm definitely going to be wanting to test from this patch. Namely, Karthus mid, Zed I want to give a game, and maybe even Kha'Zix's jungle. So those are the 3 things that I potentially will be playing. And then obviously when the new skins come out, I'm sure we'll do a Prestige Zoe gameplay. We'll probably do... We normally play Vel'Koz anyway. We'll probably wait for Infernal Karthus to do the Karthus game as well. And maybe we'll even do another AP Kog'Maw game using the new skin. But that's going to be it. If you guys did enjoy, throw a like on the video. Let me know what you think down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.